Thank you for having me, and I hope that you take away something from today's session here. Patient, organised, precise, proud, humble, honour, formal, Japan. The complete opposite of Australia. These were my impressions of Japan on my first trip there in 1983, and they remain even today. At that time, I represented Australia in the Asian Pacific Karate Championships held in Nagoya. And that first visit sealed my passion, not just for karate, but for all things Japanese. And I returned many, many times after that, mainly to practice karate under the master of our style, until finally, my husband and I ended up living and working there for 8 years. And at that time, we lived in two worlds. Our everyday lives moved to the beat of modern Japan. But it was a martial arts world that took us back in time to traditional Japan. Karate gave us a privileged insight into the psyche of the Japanese people, the spirit of the Japanese warrior. The mindset of the warrior forms the foundation of the business world of modern Japan. Obligation, duty, face, and status. I'll talk about face and status in the time given today. I hope to give you a glimpse of doing business through the Japanese lens, maybe some aha moments if you've already started doing business, and of course a little bit of language to get you started off on the right foot. So we're going to start by looking at a very powerful tool in building relationships. I'd like you to have a look at this clip and tell me what this tool actually is. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of the bow. Absolutely. Many Westerners mistake bowing to mean subservience. In Japan, the bow has many meanings. Predominantly, it's about showing respect, it's about giving acknowledgement. In many companies, department stores are a great example. Workers are taught how to bow, the exact angle. They have bowing machines that are set at a particular angle so that everyone learns how to do the welcome bow, the bow to someone high up, the thank you, the I'm sorry bow. Okay, now I'm not suggesting that you all rush out and buy these bowing machines, but you must understand the significance of the bow. It is very important for you to be able to determine relationships within an interaction. So watch it in action. Next time you go to Japan, or even if you watch a group of Japanese people and you see them interacting, look at who bows, who doesn't. Okay, how low they bow. And that will give you an idea of the relationships between people. And that is very important for you to determine who's who when you're doing business in Japan. Now, this is an example of bowing in action. You have the US President, Barack Obama, and the Emperor and Empress of Japan. Now, President Obama is bowing deeply, and in that, he's representing at the macro and political level, he's representing America. So he's showing America's deep respect for Japan in that bow. At the same time, at the personal and micro level, what he's doing is showing great respect and giving face to the Emperor and Empress of Japan at that personal level as well. In no way is he being subservient, it is to show that great amount of respect. So basically, when you do go and do business with Japanese people, if you are in Japan, the power of the bow is something that you need to observe. I don't suggest that you all learn to bow. You know, Japanese people don't expect non-Japanese people to know the intricacies of bowing, but to observe it, because that will give you important information. And of course, if you do a little nod, then that shows your respect as well. Now, part of showing respect, of course, is learning a little bit of the language. Can I have a raise of hands who speaks some Japanese? Oh, okay, fantastic. Well, we've got 2 fluent speakers, probably 3 fluent speakers here. The rest of you, you are at my mercy. So what I want to emphasise is that we're just going to give you a few words to help you break that ice, break that barrier when you meet a Japanese person. So that what you're doing is showing that you're making an effort. They take great pride in their language, so you're making the effort to at least jump that little bit of a cultural barrier. Okay, so we're going to do a crash course in introducing yourself the Japanese way, and we're going to start by introducing with in the simplest form. There are many ways to introduce yourself in Japanese, going from honorific, formal to very casual. Today we're going to do the simplest way. So have a look up at this word here and repeat after me in perfect harmony and unison. Des. 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 Beautiful. Okay, now all you have to do is add your name and des. And what you're effectively doing is saying I am and your name. For example, I would say Lilly des or Lilly des. So you would say your name, not Lily, but your name and des. Okay, so Lilly des. Lilly des. I don't hear many names. Lilly des. Exactly. Your name is more important than des. Okay, so make sure that is the emphasis. So what you're saying is I am and then your name. Now, who is this person up here? Pardon? Jimmy Barnes, yeah. So it is Jimmy des, yes. But in Japan, they don't call him Jimmy, they call him Jimmy. So let's try it. Repeat after me. Jimmy. 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 Beautiful. And Jimmy in Japan likes to go ha. So repeat after me. Ha. 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 Let's put it together. Hajime. Hajime. Once again. Beautiful. Now, how do you get sled dogs to go? What do you say? Repeat after me. Mush. 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 And this man, he is tearing the phone book. So tear. Repeat after me. Tear. Tear. Mush tear. Mush tear. Mush tear. Beautiful. And we put it together. We got Jimmy, we got the dogs, and we got the tear. So let's try it. Together. Hajime. Once again. Once again. And when you put it together in Japanese, it means how do you do? Okay, so repeat after me in perfect unison and harmony. Hajimemashite. And what did I do as well as say hajimemashite? A little bow. You don't have to do a deep formal bow or anything, just a little nod of your head. Once again, hajimemashite. Perfect. Okay, so how do you say my name is such and such? Okay, Lilly des. Lilly des. Hajimemashite. Perfect. Okay, so now can I ask who has business cards here today? I was hoping for a raise of everybody's hands. Okay, in Japan, the business card is everything. If you're going to do business in Japan, it's important to get your card translated into Japanese. Okay, the reason being is that a business card is not just a piece of paper with your personal details on it. It represents your company, it represents your brand, it has your position and title, and family name in Japanese is very important as well. So it gives all that information, but it is given and received with great respect. It's not like a pack of cards that you throw like a frisbee at somebody, okay? It's not like that at all. You treat it with the utmost respect. So with a business card, when you give and receive, you do need to use 2 hands, because when you give and receive in Japan with 2 hands, you're showing the utmost respect, okay? So there's a difference in me going, here you go, okay, and that, without even saying a word. Does that make sense? Okay, so in Japan, that is very important, that body language. So Giving, when you give and receive, when you give, you hold, and I've had a few business card exchanges with a few people here today, and they've done it very well, which is to hold at the edges there, face it so the Japanese person can read your card, okay? And when you receive, this is the beautiful part, you receive it, you observe reverently, look very wise, thank you in English, okay? And then you do the same thing back as well. And that shows respect. In that you are giving first impressions and they are forming first impressions of you. And that is very important because what you're trying to say is, I respect your culture, I respect you, this is my company that I respect and I respect your company. Let's build a relationship now, let's start to have some sort of a business in the future. Okay, so now that you know what to do, we're going to put it all together. So, how do you say, how do you do together? Once again? Perfect, let's try it. Hajimemashite, together? And how do you say, I am such and such? Okay, once again, Lilly desu, together? Beautiful. And how do you give and receive your business cards? Two hands. Beautiful. Now, if you don't have a business card, you have to imagine that you have a business card. And the person receiving has to pretend that they're receiving your business card. I want you to get up. Stand up, please. Stand up. And I'm sure you all know each other, but what I'd like you to do is to go and meet 5 new people and introduce yourself in Japanese and exchange your business cards. Don't be shy. Don't exchange it with the person you work with. They know who you are. Okay? Practice with somebody else. Please begin. 30 seconds. Please begin. You don't have my business card. Hajimemashite. And I'll...
And so, my business card? How do you do my business card?
Hajimemashite.
Hajimemashite.
Ashite. Excellent. I need a bell. Oh, okay. Okay, everyone, well done. If you can take a seat again. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well done. I heard a lot of Japanese words there, and I think you managed to get that pronunciation pretty quickly and pretty well. So if you know nothing else, and you can introduce yourself in that manner, you will make a very, very good first impression. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about face. Face is basically about status, it's self-esteem, it's dignity in social relations and social situations. Face is actually a very, very difficult concept to try and explain it for Westerners to truly get it in the Japanese way. So I'm not going to try and do that today. What I do want you to understand is that it is a very important part of doing business. It can win or lose you business, okay? Just remember that losing face, which is losing that dignity, being embarrassed, etc., for a Japanese person, whether it's in business or in a social environment, can be equivalent to losing your honor. And in the old days of the samurai, this meant that you had to redeem your face, redeem your honor, by committing seppuku, which is ritual suicide. So that's how much face means to Japanese people. So what can seem very trivial to a Western person can actually cause a Japanese person to be so embarrassed that you could make an enemy for life. You could, at the very least, lose the deal. Okay, so some simple ways of giving face and showing that deep respect. Simple ways are, for example, identifying who the most senior person is and giving this person face, whether it's your potential client or colleague, etc. simple thing is allowing somebody to walk in the door first, the senior person, allowing them to sit at the most the prestigious seat. When you finish a meeting, standing up, walking them to the door, walking them to the lift, and if they're very high up and you really want a long relationship, walking them all the way down to the car and waving goodbye. Okay, so that is just one simple way of showing respect and giving face. And if you want to build the relationships and continue that into a social event like golf, of course you will be able to talk business when you're playing golf. And at the same time, your Japanese person, of course, will win. After a tough battle from you, of course, but they will win. And that gives them the ultimate face. How much personal attention given usually correlates to the next important key, which is very important and related, which is status awareness. Okay, you and I are equal. This is a Western mantra almost. Australians are very proud of it. No one's above anyone else. We're all equal. We're all mates. It's a great thing if you've been brought up with this culture. But in Japan, you and I are definitely never equal. Okay, there's always hierarchy, and in Japan you're born knowing your place, and as you move through society, through your life, there will always be a place for you and for everyone else. It's emphasized in schools, going through junior high school, through to high school, university, and into the workplace, into corporate Japan. So generally speaking, it's not just your talent that will get you promoted, it's time in the company. So age is a decider. Position in the company also gives you status within society. And unfortunately, gender is also a deciding factor. Who do you think has more status, males or females in Japan? Males, yes. Ladies, I tried to change it in the 8 years that I was in Japan, but I couldn't. That glass ceiling for females remains pretty low still for corporate Japan. So the next key to keep in mind is that you cannot change what has been a cultural norm for thousands of years. Hierarchy exists, and your challenge when you're doing business is to work out where you fit in, where the people that you want to build relationships with, where they fit in. And if you are going to try and form relationships and do business in Japan, most important thing is always to get a reputable third-party introduction. So you're not going in cold. And the person who introduces you has to have some status, credibility as well. That transfers to you. Does that make sense? Okay, so it's very important that you are aware of that. An example, a very simple example, is seating. 2 words about seating in Japan. It's never random. Okay, everyone has a place allocated, and it's actually really great because you can tell the rank of everybody. It tells you the status quo. It tells you the hierarchy within that group. Now, when we first started our business, Travconsult, back in 2002, we joined the Japan Tourism Gold Coast Association, and back then it was headed by the big 4 of travel agencies. So they were Japanese people as a president, chairman, etc. So my business partner and husband, Trevor, was, being new kids on the block, we were very eager. We attended the first AGM on the Gold Coast, and Trevor arrived first in a room similar to this one, with that sort of seating. And Kuwajima-san was the chairman, and he said, "Oh, Trevor-san, please take a seat." "Oh, thank you, thank you." And then he's thinking, okay, it's a Japanese organisation, association, I should ask where I'm going to sit. I said, "Kuwajima-san, where should I sit?" And Kuwajima-san said, "Sit anywhere, Trevor-san." Okay. So I sat down, and Kuwajima-san said, "Anyway, but not there, not there." Okay. Trevor gets up, okay, finds another seat, sits down. "Anyway, but not there, not there." Okay, gets up again, and then does this a couple more times, and he realises, okay, he knew where to sit. He sat in the seat with his closest to the door, the main entrance, with his back to it. Okay, and that is the lowliest ranking seat of that meeting, and mainly because we were the new organisations on the block. So, never random. And it goes back to the old days with the shogun and the samurai when, you know, the big dude didn't want to get us, you know, killed by the assassins coming through. So he'd sit furthest from the door, flanked by his 2IC and 3IC. Those closest to the door were the lowliest of ranks, so they'll get killed first. So all of that gets brought back into modern Japan. Okay, it's a beautiful thing. It's actually very good because it tells you where you can be placed. So as a guest of honour, you'd probably be placed furthest from the door. Okay, and in this situation, facing the TV screen furthest from the door, that would be the top seat there. Okay. Now, in Western culture, apologising means, I'm sorry, it's my fault, I take personal responsibility. In Japan, the apology is used in a very different way. So Japanese people find it very easy to apologise versus Westerners who find it very difficult to apologise. Often it means that you're saying, oh, I'm sorry, it's my fault, I did wrong. Okay, but in Japan, it's used in a different way. It's used to save face for the other person who has been wronged. It's to say, I'm terribly sorry that this has happened to you. I'm terribly sorry that you have been embarrassed that this situation has occurred. So it's not used to say, I'm sorry, it's my fault, but I'm sorry that this has happened to you. Now, Trevor and I learned of this Japanese apology when we decided to live there. And when we decided to live there, we lived in an old Japanese-style set of apartments, 2 stories. We lived on the top story, and underneath there was an elderly couple, the Nishimura, Mr. and Mrs. Nishimura, and they were probably in their 70s, and they wanted to make Trevor and I feel very welcome. So every few weeks, Nishimura-san would cook up traditional Japanese food, and she'd dunk, 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 trudge up the stairs with the food, knock on the door and say, Trevor-san, Lily-san, I'd like you to try some beautiful Japanese food. Oh, it's not very good though, but please try it, I hope you like it. And of course it was always sensational and we loved it. So every few weeks we'll get the visit from Nishimura-san. After quite a few months, we hear that it was a Saturday morning actually, I always remember this. Clunk, 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 she comes up and goes, oh, it's a bit early. Looking forward to what she's bringing, and knock, knock, knock on the door, and Trevor opens the door and she goes, Nishimura-san's standing there looking very worried, no food. And she goes, Trevor-san, I'm terribly sorry, but I think your washing machine has a problem. Oh, okay, so he and I rushed to the back of the apartment, and at the back there was a balcony, and our washing machine situated on that balcony. And sure enough, there was a problem. It was gushing like Niagara Falls out of the washing machine, over the balcony, onto the washing that Nishimura-san had just hung out. So I was like, no. So Trevor stayed to fix the washing machine. I rushed down to help her get the washing off the line, etc. And all this time I was like, oh, Nishimura-san, I'm terribly sorry. Anyway, we rescued the washing, and then a strange thing happened. She goes, Lily-san, I'm terribly sorry. Would you like to stay for a cup of tea? It's like, oh, okay. I've just ruined your washing and you want a cup of tea, that's fine. So we sat down and her husband was there and she, made the tea, brought out Japanese rice cakes, etc. We talked a bit and then I'd say, oh, I'm terribly sorry, Nishimura-san. And she'd say, oh, no, Lily-san, I'm terribly sorry. And this went on for about half an hour and I realised, I think she wants to say sorry last. And so once I stopped apologising and she got the last apology in, she scuttled out of the room, grabbed this gift box of teas, shoved it in my arms and literally pushed me out the door. What she was trying to do was apologise for having embarrassed us, because she had to point out to us that our washing machine had a problem and that we were in the wrong. So her apology was not to say, I'm sorry you ruined my washing. Her apology was, I'm terribly sorry to have embarrassed you in this way. Does that make sense? That is the heart of the Japanese apology. And in business, you need to take that on, because I think sometimes Westerners have too much fear about litigation and about liability, and even saying I'm sorry seems to be such a big thing. Whereas in Japanese person, when it comes to complaint management, I am sorry is the first thing that they expect. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's another key. Now, business entertaining. Raise of hands who has been to Japan. Okay. Now, if business gets serious, it means that you will go out and enjoy meals with each other and other things. So meetings for the first time are it's just the beginning. They're just formalities almost. Nothing really gets decided in those meetings. They want to hear what you have to say, they want to know what you've got to offer, and, you know, learn to pronounce your name maybe, and vice versa. And that's about it. So if it goes no further than that, that's not a really good sign. It's a good sign when you get invited out for dinner. It's a good sign if it goes further than that. Okay, so if ever you are invited out for dinner, try to say yes. Okay? Often a lot of effort has been gone into making sure that that dinner's going to be something that wows you as well. And vice versa, if you are going to entertain Japanese people when they visit here, make sure that you do go to that effort, because that again shows that care and face. There are lots and lots of do's and don'ts when it comes to dining and Japanese etiquette. I'm not going to go into all of them, but I want to leave you with a few thoughts. The first thing is that you will, if you're invited out to a Japanese, maybe traditional restaurant, your host will have gone to a lot of trouble to make sure that you get the most expensive, the most auspicious type of food that will give you and them a lot of face. Now, it could be something that wriggles on your plate a little bit. It could be something that's a little bit slimy, there's not your texture that you are used to, okay? Whatever you do, do not go, ew, yuck, oh, I don't eat this, okay? Try a little bit. And to show that emotion of, I'm not too fond of it, you could say something like, it's very interesting. It's an interesting taste. Or, it's okay. These are the underlying meaning to a Japanese person is, don't really like it. But you save face for yourself and them by not going, ooh, bah, bah, which does happen. The other thing, of course, is that you will at some stage be served rice in a Japanese meal. And if you're using chopsticks, try not to leave the chopsticks poking in the rice, because that's actually symbolic of funeral rites in the Japanese culture, so as well as Chinese culture. So try not to leave the chopsticks poking in. And one other thing is that you will usually have drinks, alcoholic drinks, whether it's beer or sake. The rule of thumb is you never pour your own drink, okay? So no matter how thirsty you are, you never pour your own drink, because the good host will always pour for you, okay? You shouldn't need to ask. The host will always pour for you. Usually when the drink goes just below half, they'll pour for you, okay? As the guest, it's okay for you to pour for the host. Okay? So you're pouring for each other all night long. And then you might have a delegation and you have other people wanting to come up and give you face and show their respect, and they'll want to pour for you. And you can have a bit of a drink and then you pour for them. So what does it mean by the end of the night? What happens? You get a little bit drunk, okay, which is okay. It's actually good, because now you're starting to relax. The Japanese facade is very much a formal one. But once that facade, they do need a little bit of alcohol to loosen up a little bit. Once that facade is down, that's when business can really begin. Why is it business? It's business because it's personal. Business and personal like this, okay? So it means that you're ready to form relationships. You're ready to let your guard down a little bit and bond, okay? So that's what can happen after a meal. Now, beautiful thing is they might really love you so much that after the 2 hours of pouring for each other, they go, oh, okay, Lily-san, let's go and do some singing. Let's go and do some karaoke, or in English, in Australia, you would say karaoke. Let's go and do some karaoke. And you might go, yeah, bring it on, I love to sing. And that's fine, because it means that your relationship will go to the next level. Okay, this is where you truly relax. You can rip out whatever English song you want. No one really cares. And then they'll all clap and say you're fantastic. It's a great thing for the ego here. But you might be like some people who are quite tone deaf, and the last thing you ever want to do is hum in front of somebody, let alone sing Rub Me Tender, you know, in front of a room full of strangers. So, you know, you might have the deer in headlights sort of look and go, oh no, I don't sing, and go back to your hotel. Bad move if you want to build relationships, okay? I suggest that if you want to build relationships, that you just bite the bullet and sing, okay? Consolation is that by the end of the night, everyone will be so drunk. No one will remember, no one will sound good anyway. But the next day, they will remember that you went all that way with them to the very last stumbling at, you know, back to your hotel room at all hours of the morning. And they will feel that you revealed a bit of yourself, your intimate self to them. And that is the beginning of building relationships and doing business in Japan. And just to finish off, there are many do's and don'ts in Japanese culture, but I'll leave you one with, as a bit of fun, but freaks Japanese people out. In Japan, there are some places where you have to take off your outdoor shoes, okay? And you take them off and then you put on indoor slippers. So first tip is that you always pack lots of pairs of clean socks with no holes, okay? Because you have to always take your shoes off. Now, the thing is that you keep these indoor slippers on, but at some stage you'll want to go to the toilet. And the interesting thing is that when you open the door, there will be a pair of slippers like this, similar to this, have toilet written on them or other cute pictures, but you know they're toilet slippers. So you need to take off your indoor slippers, put these ones on, do your business, come back out. Now, as you come back out, you need to take these off. You cannot walk these through the restaurant or walk these through someone's home because it will freak them out. And that is something that I guarantee most foreigners have done at one stage in their lives. I know I did that many times and wondered why everyone was pointing and going shock horror. These toilet slippers do remain in the toilet. Okay, so let's do a quick review. How do you say, how do you do in Japanese together? Beautiful. Once again, hajimemashite. And how do you say my name is or I am? Excellent. Lilly desu together? Excellent. Okay, on that note, I wish I could spend all day with you, but I can't. Want to thank you for giving me your time today, and I want to wish you the best of luck on your journey with Japan and doing business there. Thank you very much. No random questions?
Mike Badcock. Yeah, one of the nice customs I found in Japan is where you challenge each other for drinking, like you have sculling sessions with kanpai.
Kanpai, yes, absolutely. I think one of the things is that some people may be teetotalers and don't drink, and my suggestion is that you don't just say, I don't drink. To say face again for yourself and for them is to say, oh, I'm terribly sorry, but I have a medical condition and my doctor says that it's not good for me to drink. Those sorts of long-winded explanations usually go down really well. Yeah, okay. Anyone else before I run away? Yes?
The old custom of appreciation of a meal, does that still apply?
Which one's that? The burp? You know, I think slurping noodles, burping is not, it comes out naturally, but you don't have to, I don't think. Nowadays, I think Japanese people are a little bit less, I think with China, definitely you burp. With Japan, not all my Japanese friends are burping nowadays, but they do slurp the noodles. Yeah, yeah. But the burp does used to show that appreciation that I enjoyed that meal. Yes. Yeah.
When interacting with Japanese people in Australia, do they go to such trouble to adapt to your customs?
Absolutely, and that's one of the things that I think can be really confusing, is that Japanese people will do their utmost to try and to blend in when they live here and come here as well. So that effort has to be appreciated, but at the same time, I think there are certain things that they will do without realising that's truly Japanese, and if you can understand that, then that will go a long way. As to, they may not interrupt you when you're speaking, they may not speak their opinion, give their opinion freely if you're senior. All those hierarchies still exist, you know, whether they're here or whether they are back in Japan, I believe. Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you very much.